If manifesting is so simple, have you ever wondered why so many techniques exist? Even manifesting coaches vary in what they believe the best one should be, which adds to the confusion. Most coaches teach multiple methods, but some prefer to focus on just one, like affirmations, especially robotic ones, to achieve your desire. Others only teach visualizing, stressing the importance of creating the exact end scene. Interestingly, some, like Neville Goddard himself, have changed their preferred method over time. And to add to all the complexity, even the frequency and length of time you should spend on each process varies, from repeating affirmations 24/7 to simply declaring who you are a few times and it is done. So, what is the truth? Do they all work? And if so, why don't they all work for you? The myth of techniques. The issue is that most people believe the power behind manifesting is in the techniques, believing they are the ones that hold the magic, and that they must be executed correctly, like chanting a particular affirmation precisely 55 times before the spell can be cast. This is great when a particular process works, because the belief in them grows each time someone succeeds with this method. For instance, I know that if I do this, then I expect to see the desired result, i.e., cause and effect. This also applies when an individual believes in their favorite coach, as they trust entirely in whatever techniques they explain. Though if the coach suggests a particular affirmation, it will also work for them. But what happens when they don't get the desired results? This is when people start to panic or get worried that they are doing the techniques incorrectly. So they move on to another process or coach until they find something that works, or worse, decide that manifesting is merely a fantasy and give up. Eventually, they accept the 3D circumstances as final and allow the current conditions to control their lives. But techniques don't manifest anything, you do. You are the only cause, as nothing outside of you can manifest your desires. So, if they are powerless, why do we use them? The sole purpose of techniques is to remind you who you are conscious of being, i.e., the person who already has their desire. They do this by helping you to consciously stay or return to the state of the wish fulfilled. And when you're in this state, your identity changes, so your desire starts to manifest. This is why Bashar, a channeled entity, refers to techniques as permission slips, as it's up to you whether you use them. Think about when a child learns to ride a bike. If they are struggling, the parent often adds stabilizers to the bike to keep it balanced until the child feels confident enough to ride unaided. Therefore, see techniques as your stabilizers because they keep you balanced and focused on your desire until you can remain in a state of the wish fulfilled unaided. By now, you might believe that I have shattered the illusion of techniques, that revealing the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain is only you. But that is where the true magic exists, as you is not the limited human you manifesting your desire, it is the greater, limitless you connected to source energy. So when you start manifesting successfully, knowing that you are the magic and not the techniques, you begin to develop your belief in your manifesting abilities, which I like to call your manifesting muscle. And as a consequence, the need for techniques will diminish over time. When you manifest this way, you control the techniques. This gives you the freedom on what method to use and when to use them. You create the rules. Which techniques are the most effective for you? From the reams of evidence of success stories available on the internet, we know that any technique can work, but they may not all work for you because one size doesn't fit all. So which ones are the most effective for you? When you start manifesting consciously, try the technique you resonate with the most. But if that one doesn't work or doesn't work for a particular desire, The following pointers will help you navigate towards the best methods for you. To begin with, here are a couple of exercises that will confirm which sense or senses you use when you learn or remember something. What senses do you use when you need to learn something new, like a series of words in a poem or a script for a play? Do you hear the words or write them down? Or can you remember them by just reading them several times? You may have found that you are more efficient when you use multiple senses. For example, you may have read the words out aloud or read the words while listening to the audio version. And if you remember the sentences but got the order mixed up, did you use images to help you, like creating a mind map or watching a demonstration video? This exercise will help you to discover what senses you use when you remember. What comes to mind when you think about a lovely memory, like your favourite date? Can you picture the scene, the other people, the objects around you? Do you hear any conversations or any background noises like birds singing? Can you feel the objects around you, another person perhaps, or sense the different textures? Maybe you can only remember a particular smell, like your girlfriend's perfume, or do you only remember the overall vibe of the scene? Perhaps you can only recall the details when you write down the memory, like a story, or even by drawing them as an image. Knowing which senses help you learn and remember the most enables you to match these senses to the most appropriate technique style. This is probably why some coaches prefer to focus on one technique style like affirmations or visualizing. Affirmations are so versatile as they work with most of your senses. You can say them to yourself, out aloud, or even read them on a loop. If you struggle to concentrate on saying the affirmations, write them in a journal. And don't worry about how precise you have to be or what tense the affirmation should be. What matters is your assumption behind them. Just remember to say them as a declaration of who you are now, not someone you want to be in the future. So get into the design state before you start affirming. There are several ways you can use visualizing. You can visualize the entire scene and use as many senses as possible to create a lifelike image. And if the scene involves a conversation, like informing someone that you have been offered a promotion, you don't have to see the scene. Instead, hear the other person congratulating you. You can also write out your scene as you form images in your head while composing the script. Alternatively, you can also visualize just a part of the scene, like the designed balance for your bank account. This method is so flexible that you can repeat the image throughout the day, as it only takes a brief moment to loop. Another hearing method is to have a mental conversation with yourself as if you are talking to your best mate. This method doesn't confine you to a particular script, so allow the conversation to free flow. The next thing to consider is where you are on your manifesting journey. When you start manifesting consciously, your belief in your manifesting abilities, i.e., your manifesting muscle, is weak, so your reliance on techniques is high to keep you in a state of the wish fulfilled. This means focusing more on the mental action than being. But as you become more and more successful, your manifesting muscle builds. At this point, because your belief becomes more dominant than your doubt, you are focusing more on being rather than the mental action. Therefore, you can jump into your new identity. So it is possible to declare what you want and persist in knowing that you already have your desire for it to manifest. Of course, you can also add in your favorite technique if you prefer. This is why you often see manifesting coaches proclaim they can manifest within 3 days, because their belief in their manifesting abilities is so strong. Finally, to help you accelerate this process, you can always repeat the affirmation, "I am a master manifester," to reinforce this belief. If you're at the stage where your manifesting muscle is well developed, You can manifest most desires with minimal effort, but still struggle to manifest in a particular area of your life. This is because your limiting beliefs about that subject outweigh your belief in your manifesting abilities. I'm not suggesting you have to remove these beliefs to manifest, but in this area you're more likely to doubt yourself, and fears may surface in the beginning. So to give yourself more support, declare that you already have your desire, but also add techniques to keep you focused on your desire, i.e., focus more on mental action rather than being. How to use techniques. Knowing what your best senses to use for techniques, you should be clear on what techniques are most appropriate for you. You've also discovered that you are the only cause of your manifestations, and as you progress along your manifesting journey, your manifesting muscle develops. This means that the ratio between focusing on mental action and being changes. Now it's time to know how to take charge of those techniques. So how do you use them? It doesn't matter. It's up to you. Remember, your only job is to declare what you want and then be consciously aware of your desire so that you can have the physical experience of it. This is who you are now. Any techniques you use are just bonuses. The beauty is that you can focus on one technique until you manifest your desire, or mix them up each day. Whatever the mood takes you, you decide what techniques to use. The same applies to when you use them. There are no rules, just fit them around your life rather than allowing the techniques to dominate. This way, the manifesting process remains fun and effortless. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you again.